Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up today with Rana Vig, CEO of Blue Lagoon Resources. And if you want our thoughts and opinions on that conversation and his plans, and in fact the company itself, you can get that at cruxinvestor.com/club, where you can also find detailed company reports. There are training videos, there are summaries of other interviews that we've done, there's commentary from market experts from around the world on a variety of commodities and companies. And of course, there's a community of investors on there sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other. In fact, you should go along there and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And of course, we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, leave your comments below. And if you want to see what we talked about, take a look in the description below. Rana, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic with it. Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're about to hear your story today. New one to us. We've not spoken before either. So where are you in the world at the moment?
I'm in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. In Canada.
Excellent. It looks a bit grey there, I'm delighted to say. Makes me feel better.
No. It's never grey here. It's always sun shining, always beautiful.
Oh my goodness. Well, and are you well? Is life good there?
Life is fantastic, man. Family's good. We're COVID free right now, so that's the most important blessing I think anyone can count on today. Life is great.
And it's not impacting your ability to do business.
No, we're very fortunate. BC's been very good, particularly northern British Columbia, where our properties are. It's been pretty much untouched, so we've had no interruption of work at all.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, look, we're going to hear about Blue Lagoon Resources today, but before we get stuck into that, why don't you give us that 1 minute overview of the business, and I'll pick it up from there.
Sure. Yeah, we got three very exciting projects that we're focused on. The Dome Mountain, which is a permitted mine with a tremendous amount of blue sky potential. We have a copper porphyry just sitting right next to it as well, which is getting very exciting with copper prices increasing, daily. And we've got another property in central British Columbia that's got 10 high grade veins and a beautiful stockpile that I plan to get out of there and monetize. So. That's kind of the high level of what makes Blue Lagoon exciting.
Fantastic. We're going to have to ask, big onion. Some of the naming protocols need to be reviews out there. Let's kind of get into the projects, but I always like to understand who I'm dealing with. So what's your background? Tell me a little bit about you.
I got a pretty crazy background. I'm an entrepreneur, right? Most of my life, I was in private business over 30 years, 5 different startups in my family businesses. Basically, I learned a long time ago, I'm not that smart. Okay. So I learned 2 lessons. Number 1, outwork everybody. Okay. That's the only way to make the playing field equal. And number 2, just surround yourself with the smartest, the best and the smartest of that industry. Right. So that's what I've done all my life. About 10 years ago, I got invited to the capital markets. 2008, 2009 had just happened. I was looking for a change. A very successful entrepreneur worth well over $300 million at the time, a big venture capitalist who made a lot of his money in mining, brought me into the mining sector in 2011. I put over $1 million into the market. And I think you can guess what happened in 2012.
Yeah, that's why I went, oh boy.
That all timing. Disappeared.
Right.
It was like, whoa, what did I get myself into? So, but hey, I'm a big boy. I licked my wounds and I took over a couple of my investments and learned the ropes of mining exploration companies. And then hung in there for about 7 years. And then in 2018, I'm an entrepreneur, so I like to spot trends. I sensed cannabis was making a big move. So I laser beam focused on that industry. And in 2018, I took the biggest, I took Curaleaf public, which was the biggest Canadian cannabis raise in history at $520 million. It was nearly a $6 billion RTO, so I made a lot of people a lot of money. And then I was very fortunate. A couple of months later, I did it again. I found Harvest Health and Rec out of Arizona, and I took them public. That was the 3rd largest raise in 2018 at $300 million. It was nearly a $2 billion RTO. So a whole bunch of people made a whole bunch more money. And then, as crazy as I am, I thought, mining has got to come back. And I love gold, so I started Blue Lagoon Resources nearly 2 years ago. Everybody thought I was crazy because nobody was talking about mining still at that time or gold. But I think I timed it right, and now I'm laser beam focused on this company and building it, and I believe it's going to be my next big win.
Okay. Did you remember to make money on the way out with regards to the cannabis projects?
Sorry, did I make money?
Yeah.
I have a few smiles on my face. Yeah, we did okay.
You did okay. Okay. It's just we speak to people who kind of forget to make money doing their day job. They get so ensconced in it because obviously that came all crashing down quite quickly in Canada.
Well, these were U.S. projects. Curaleaf, for example, peaked at $15, and let's see, last week it was back at 14. So it's doing very, very well. These are real companies with distribution all over the United States, right? They're multi-state operators and big revenues.
See, that's interesting. I'm just trying to understand the man here. So you were keen on setting up businesses which were real, that weren't, because we saw a lot of what happened in Canada. A lot of the companies had negligible revenues, but valuations.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was insane.
It made no sense.
Made no sense.
It was insane. It made no sense. They were completely overvalued. That's why I didn't focus at all in Canada. I focused in the United States. Huge market. And multi-states, right? So the growth opportunity there really was. Canada. I mean. I love it living here, but it's tiny. The marketplace is tiny, right? And it's so vast and spread out. Distribution costs. There's so many challenges here in this country. It's a great place to live, but business is challenging for sure, right? So yeah, I only focused in the United States for the Cannabis Place.
Okay, that interests me. Thank you for that. Okay, well, we better try and understand what it is you set up here. You talked about setting this up a couple of years ago, but I think it was the beginning of this year.
We launched on July 4th of 2019. We started trading. And I spent the first few months just, picking up a couple of projects to build up the portfolio. But really, I was looking for something bigger, right? We were focused on our Pellear property which is in the central British Columbia, beautiful property with 10 high-grade veins. But what I really was looking for was something that I can really, sink my teeth in, something much, much bigger. And this Dome Mountain fell in my lap, which was about 7 months ago. But to be honest with you, I dismissed it at the beginning because, frankly, over the 10 years or so I've been in this business, I don't know how many times I've heard, "Yeah, we have a mine, we have a permit, a little bit of money, we can get to production, it's going to be fantastic." Honestly, I've never seen one of those things come to fruition. So I was very, very skeptical. But the CFO of that company was in the same building as I was, and he kept running into me every few days. And he says, "Ryan, you don't understand. You've got to take a look at this. These people have spent $28 million over the last dozen years, but they're out of time." And all that money, by the way, was spent on development, mine development, infrastructure, and permitting. And they just ran out of time. They're wonderful people, but they're 83 years old now, not in the best of health. And you know what? That kind of turned on the light bulb for me. I was thinking, as an entrepreneur, if the property checks out from a technical perspective, I knew instinctively I could make a great deal. So that's what we did. We started looking into it and went up there with my geologists, and we were pretty blown away. We were very impressed. First, at the infrastructure that they had put in, and then just the historical data. I mean, it just was so compelling that it just made sense to do the deal. So, and of course, as they say, the rest is history. I did the deal.
Okay, so let's break this down, because you talk about three projects. You talk about Pellear, which is obviously one of the earlier deals that you did. Do you mind if we kind of go through this, and we'll end up back at Dome Mountain, because I think that's where you are focusing your time, money, and efforts now. But I want to either park up or discount or just try and understand, at the very least, Pellear and Big Onion. So Pellear, you've got a bunch of payments due throughout this. You kind of stretched out the payment there. So tell me, what was the deals that you did on that, and what do you think you've got?
No, actually, we own a Pellear 100%. One of my strengths is, I'm Indian, right? So I'm pretty cheap. Okay, I grew up with my dad when I was 10 years old, going to the local retail store, and when he'd bargain for a shirt, right, and he'd get a deal every time. So I learned that lesson a long time ago.
But tell me this: I'm looking at your MD&A, and it's talking about quarterly payments and shares which need to be made on the Pellear project. Is that not right?
Yes. Yeah, we've paid those. It's all paid. We've issued the shares, and I issue the shares every very, very carefully. It's only 50,000 every quarter. All right, and
so you haven't paid. So you have more payments to come. That's what I'm getting at. There are a series of quarterly payments, because we talked in the MD&A to 2023.
The cash payments all made, right?
Right.
The shares have been issued to them. They're just in escrow.
Right.
All right. Okay. 50,000 every quarter, and it's not onerous. It's less than 700,000 shares. and there's no expenditure requirements. So we own it 100%. Right. So what I love the best about that property is that, yes, it's got 10 high grade veins and it's got lots of potential, but the low hanging fruit, 25,000 plus tons of mineralized material sitting by the number 3 vein, that's grading, 5 grams or a ton or higher, and needs no permits. We just have to inform the government that we intend to truck it out and simply truck it out and monetize it. So that's worth a pretty penny to us. So we were going to do that this summer, but because of COVID, it slowed things down, and we were very busy with Dome Mountain. So it's our intention to truck that out next summer and get it to a mill and load up the treasury again.
Right. Is there an NSR on that?
No, not on the stockpile.
But what about the rest of it?
The property has a 2% NSR, which we can buy. We can buy 1 million back for. We can buy a 1% back for $1 million, and it leaves only a 1% NSR.
Right. Okay. And so, so your plans are what, to just truck out that stockpile and that's it? You'll park it up otherwise?
No. We'll evaluate it. I mean, I don't want to take my focus off of Dome Mountain, but Pell-Air is definitely compelling. So, it's not costing us anything. What my plans are to evaluate it, early in Q1 and to figure out, do we want to go there and poke a couple holes? Do we want to JV it, bring some other, how do we monetize it? How do we advance it? For sure, we'll be looking at that in Q1.
Right. Okay. So you say it's not costing you anything. I guess what you mean is there are de minimis costs against it. You're looking to monetize what's sitting at surface. Have you worked out some numbers as to what that actually equates to for you? Because it will take some money. You have to invest some money to make that money.
The stockpile, you mean? Yeah, I mean it's not onerous. It'll be a few $100,000 to line up the trucking and get it out to the mill and get it processed. But at these gold prices, right? That's worth several $1 million. That stockpile.
But was it 3 million or is it 10 million? I mean, what do you know?
I only hesitate because of all the rules around, what I am allowed to say and what not I'm allowed to say, not allowed to say. And, you're not really supposed to make these projections, but you're certainly in the realm at that plus.
Right. Okay. So
those are back of the envelope estimates, obviously, right? So there's my caveat, right? That, the legal disclaimers, right? But look, investors aren't dumb these days, right? They understand, right? There's a significant stockpile. It doesn't need any onerous kind of permits. We truck it out, we send it to the mill, and they mill it, and they send us a check.
Gotcha. But it does come down to all the detail. It will come down to the details. You need to understand the size of the stockpile, what the average grade is. I'm sure you're doing work, or maybe there's work being done on that.
We've done all. That's what I said. We've done that, and we've done the sort of the back of the envelope estimate, and it's very promising. Look, I have a very simple philosophy, right? I think people, and I think this is my strength because I come from outside the business. And call me crazy, but I'll give you an example. An engineer firm called me up a few weeks ago, and they said, "Let us give you a rundown exactly what you're talking about on this stockpile." And I said, well, and it was a significant cost, right? It was about $100,000 they wanted to charge me to do all that. And they said, well, let me ask you, why do you think I need to do that? Well, you need to know all the economics of that. I said, well, look, I already know that I'm going to make money on this stockpile. The question is, am I going to make 1 million or am I going to make 5 million, let's say? All right. But you want me to pay you $100,000 to tell me how much I'm going to make. As an entrepreneur, that doesn't make any sense to me, right? I'm not trying to sell it, right? I'm going to simply, and I know I have an idea, right? Our own in-house estimates of what I need to do. And that's all I need to do. What I need to make sure is I don't lose money on it, right? What I don't want to do is, right? So, so I have a very, call it a simplistic approach for this particular, project. We know we can monetize it. We've got our in-house estimates. We know approximately what it's going to cost us to truck it, to mill it, et cetera. And we know it's worth a pretty penny, right? So, it's our intention next summer to go ahead and get the trucks rolling and send it off and put that extra cash into the treasury or put it right back, most likely, into Pell-Air.
Right. Okay. Back into Pell-Air to do what?
To drill.
Just do exploration work. I mean, how much data did you inherit with that deal?
There's some, but our geologist, Bill Kronk, is quite actually familiar, with the property from the past. So, he's already identified drill targets because we did some work there a year ago. So we have enough data to pick our drill targets, and we could easily go do a small drill program there to get more data.
Right. Okay. And you say whatever money you make from clearing the stockpile will go into the ground. No, and any more on top of that? I mean, how big a target is Pellaert for you in terms of investment going forward? I know we're going to talk about Dome Mountain, but is it important?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to spend a whole lot there until I fully understand, what the bigger picture is. Because what I don't want to do is take my eye off the prize, which I believe is Dome Mountain.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll know more when you know more. Big Onion, great name, but it is copper porphyry, and people are excited about copper porphyry, and I think next year is a big year for copper. So
Sure.
That's a goodie. So again, talk to us about the structure of that deal. How did you buy it?
Yeah, so I negotiated it as part of the Dome Mountain transaction, and again, I try to drive a pretty hard bargain so that I can get a big win for my shareholders. So when we did the Dome Mountain deal, this property was also in their portfolio, and I simply insisted on including that as part of the transaction. It's beautiful because it sits right next to our Dome Mountain. It's right just outside the town of Smithers, which is a small mining town. It's a 20-minute drive on an all-year access road. And if you continue on from the Big Onion to our Dome Mountain, it's about 45-50-minute drive. So they're both very, very close and accessible. And what I like about it is just what you said, right? Copper looks like it's going to be in play here coming up next year and the year after. A lot of people talk about gold. In the last 6 months, gold's gone up, about 23%. Copper's gone up about 45%, right? Again, from a business perspective, from a strategic positioning, I have very little costs. In fact, there's no holding costs on the Big Onion. All our assessment work is up to date for the next 4 years. But now what I've done is I put a bridge claim in. So I've combined the two properties together. So whatever money we spend over here on Dome Mountain automatically goes towards the assessment work, the Big Onion, so it doesn't cost me anything. Again, these are sort of the business decisions that I try to make. And what I want to do with this is my technical team tells me that it's a very desirable property. So again, I want to stay focused on Dome Mountain, but I want to figure out how can we monetize this, right? Are we going to sell it? Are we going to JV it? But bottom line is it adds value to the overall value to the company.
Talk to me about that. You bridged it, meaning what exactly? How do you? Because it's like 50-minute drive from each other. So what do you mean by that?
No, it's not a 50-minute. It's a 50-minute drive from the town of Smithers. So if you start from Smithers,
so it's another 30.
You get to Big Onion first. Big Onion's about 20 minutes, and then if you keep going, then it's for another 30 minutes or so, you get to our next property. Right. So what we did is, because in order to keep your assessment work, in order to keep your property in good standing, you have to do a bunch of assessment work. But there's a rule that if the properties are one, obviously, then it doesn't matter where you do the work. So we put a little bridge to join the two properties. Right. And that way, whatever work, because now technically they're one property, right? Because they're joined.
Got it. Totally understood. So given that porphyries tend to take a lot of money to develop, is the likelihood that we're going to see a JV partner coming in here, or you offloading this?
I think so. I think that, again, we evaluate, at the time, but certainly, we have people talking to us about it and looking at it. So, yeah, we'll evaluate it and see what makes sense. What's the best for the company and the shareholders, right? A JV or sell it.
Okay, but do you have enough information now to have a sensible conversation? Because obviously, the more you know, the better deal you're going to get. So.
Yes, there's a historical 43-101 on it. It's about 650 million pounds of copper, and we've set up a whole data room, well organized. So yeah, there's enough information for someone to make an informed decision. Sure.
Okay. So you're well ahead in terms of seeking a partner. Then you've got a data room going.
Absolutely.
Got it. Understood. Let's talk about your hero product, which is Stone Mountain. What are you hoping for? We've seen some drill results, quite nice numbers for gold and silver there. What are you planning to do for the rest of this year in 2021?
Yeah, this is what makes me leap out of bed every morning, right? I'm very excited about it, frankly. And the reason is because it's kind of unique, right? It's got two sort of pieces to it. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, it's fully permitted. It has an environmental permit. It has a mining permit for 75,000 tons a year. So it's not a huge, mine. It'll be a couple hundred tons a day. But at these gold prices, that's very, very profitable. So literally, as I mentioned, it's at the 1 yard line. Now, a lot of people say to me, well, why do you want to develop a small mine? Well, again, as an entrepreneur, my budget, my CapEx to put this into production is $1.5 million. Okay. It's tiny. And the reason is because people keep saying, well, that's not realistic. How can it only be $1.5 million? Well, because 28 million was just spent on right. And it wasn't spent 100 years ago. It was just spent in the last 10 years. All current, we have generators. We have a 900-meter tunnel, right? The underground development is done to the face of the vein. So all these things are already in place. The only thing that's required are the last three key things. Have to finish the water treatment facility. It's about $400,000 and about 4 or 5 months work. Have to do some underground bolting, which is about $450,000 and about 75, 80 days of work, which is currently happening and already more than half done. And we have to update the mine reclamation and closure plans, right? Which is ERM is working on. It's about $300,000. So the total budget is about $1.5 million to get this done. I fully believe that we will be in a decision-making mode by summer of 2021, right? To see what we want to do with this, move forward, et cetera. So that's the one side of it, right? Which will, by the way, the milling agreements are already in place. In 2016, 6,600 tons was taken out of there, and Nikola processed it and refined the processes to get 95% gold recovery and over 90% silver. So everything's done. It's just turnkey, right? So that's that side of it. But the even more exciting part of it is the property itself, which 90% of it had never been explored because these people focused only on trying to get this in production. Believe it or not, it was 1,200 shareholders in this private company. All right. And their focus was to try to get this to production and pay out dividends. That's understandable. So only that tiny little piece of the property had ever been worked on. There's 15 high-grade veins already known on this property. Noranda, for example, was there in the 80s, and there's a historical resource of 20,000 tons, grading 23.6 grams a ton. All the other veins are similar. Everything is 15, 20 grams plus, right? Which is, very exciting. So, and that's just encompasses only 10% of the property. And then we have this vast property. And if you saw our latest news release, or two news releases ago, we flew the property for the first time ever, right? To the best of my knowledge. So we did the and the property just lit up, right? There's 5 amazing new targets that we can go after. And looking at that data, we instantly that night staked all around it and nearly doubled our land position because it just obviously made sense. So there's a lot of so 2021 is going to be an extremely busy year for us. We're going to start drilling starting January 11th.
Right. Okay. You're going to have to also go through, I know you're an entrepreneur and you've identified ways to save money and just think about things differently, which is always to be commended. But the market is going to be a little bit more cautious than you. They're going to want to see you go through the motions of, getting a PEA, getting the various scoping studies done, pre-fees, feasibility, etc. Are you going to do that, or are you going to try and shortcut some of that process?
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Let me tell you why. You need a PEA in order to get a mine into production. We already have a mine. We don't need a PEA. All right. We already have a mine plan. Right. So we, of course, let me give the cautionary language, right? That any success outside of a PEA has a high, what's the wording you can look at? You know what I'm getting at? Has a high chance of, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The legalese, right? Investors, do your own due diligence. But look, we don't need a PEA. All right. We have a permit already in place at these gold prices. right? We've done the the math, and it's going to be profitable. But remember, that's not our key focus. That's a bonus. Whatever cash flow we generate out of there is the bonus. The focus is on building this property, right? Because I believe we're sitting on a multi-million ounce property here. Which, now let me tell you why, right? If you look at our deck, you can see there's some cross sections. So the main Boulder vein, right? By the way, grades are incredible. They're 15 grams a ton plus. All right. So we currently have a historical resource there, which we are now updating to be compliant. And if you look at all the drilling that was done in 2016, there's 800-meter extension. That's all mineralized. This is beyond the known where the mine is currently. So that's all mineralized. All we have to do is go in there and drill, and we know that we can double the resource just by doing that. And then this property has never been drilled any deeper than 160, 70, 80 meters. Now we know that these steeply dipping systems can go on for hundreds of meters. So the 2 or 3 holes, the limited drilling that they did do that was a little bit deeper, all is high grade, and it's all in the deck. You can see you can see that. So we have a high degree of confidence based on our data that when we go deeper, we'll be able to once again significantly increase the resource. And that's just the Boulder vein where the mine is. I'm not there's still all the other 15 veins and the rest of the 90% of the property.
Right. Okay. But people are going to want to understand the economics of it. You're saying we've got high grade veins. You're chasing veins. They're actually reasonable widths. Looking at your PowerPoint. But high grade doesn't necessarily equate to success because it's about the total size of metal in the ore body. And you've got to understand the economics around that. And more importantly, you've got to be able to clearly enunciate that to the marketplace. So are you going to be able to do that before you start spending more money on it?
Well, we have. If you look at our past news releases, we talk about some of these things already. So absolutely. Look, remember, I'm the entrepreneur, but one of my things I said earlier is that I make sure that I surround myself with the best. So Bill Cronk, a former chief geologist for Dundee, extremely experienced. Former chief geologist for John Robbins companies, right? One of the top geologists in the country, if not the world, and a great businessman, right? Currently advisor to Great Bear, huge success story. He had Northern Empire as an exit, who sold out to Coors Mining, as well as a couple of others. Bill was his chief geologist. So, I was very fortunate to get him in between jobs. So I have Bill, looking at everything. I'm starting to build other technical people around me. Yannis Tatitos is one of my advisors in our company, 19-year veteran of BHP, right? So I have all these people who are helping me analyze and make the decisions, because that's what I rely on them to tell me, and then I use my own common sense and my own business acumen to make those final decisions. So we're not just shooting blind here, right? We have a plan, we see the data, and we're going to chase that plan. The economics that you're talking about really are just for the mine itself, right? It's all about tonnage, and we believe, based on for example, the most recent mag data that we got on one of our veins, about a kilometer north of the main Boulder vein. I mean, it just lit up. I mean, we're talking about a kilometer and a half strike by about 300 meters in width. So we potentially a porphyry. So there's just a lot of information that we're getting, and we're going to be following up on in 2021 in order to make some intelligent decisions. Okay, so
I get the excitement, and I get the fact you've got some people who've been around the block a few times, and you're making decisions based on the information they give you. But it is going to come back to the information that you're able to communicate to the marketplace, because they're going to have a less entrepreneurial view of this. They're going to be basing this on what your peers are doing. So either you're going to have to demonstrate to them that your entrepreneurial ability is sound, you're able to make good decisions. And so far, the drill results are on your side. But what do you think you're going to have to do next to get people excited again? Because the share price is back down at 82 cents at the moment. Hasn't
Well,
really.
you say back down, but we did a financing at 35 cents just recently, and the stock's trading at 85 cents today because gold's off $40 and at 1836, right? But if you look at the last 14-day average, it's 90 cents, right? So I think we're doing extremely well. And I think we'll blow past our high. We were over $2. I firmly believe. Listen, I wrote a $300,000 check myself into the company at $1. Right? My closest friends and my family wrote more, between $1 and $1.50. So we're not worried, right? Because you don't look at where you are today. I don't get worried about gold is at 1836. In fact, I've already made a call today to see how much more gold I can pick up today. These are just natural gyrations of the market. This is the mistake that people make, right? They always buy at the wrong time. They always sell at the wrong time, right? Right. This is the time to be buying, not selling, right? You don't panic because gold is off and the stock is off by 4 cents, right? We just closed today a little over $2 million financing at $1. Again, that's going to be used for exploration.
Okay. So you're quietly confident. You're still putting your own money in. How much money have you got into this yourself, actually?
Me and my family and my closest handful of my closest friends have over $2 million into the company now.
Right. Okay. And so you're saying it's the market, it's not you. The market will recover. It's in a dip at the moment. But you think next year,
I firmly believe that.
You've got strong expectations of where gold is next year.
I firmly believe that. Look, because remember, we've had limited work done on the property so far. The most exciting work we're about to start on January 11th. The biggest exploration program ever done on this property. Right. So, we'll do, 15, 20,000 meters at least. We'll do, there's going to be lots of activity coming up here, especially in Q1 and Q2 of next year. So the next 7-8 months is going to see tremendous amount of activity.
Right. You've got about $6 million or so in cash, says your PowerPoint to me.
No debt.
No debt. All good stuff. Is that enough to see you through your drill programs for next year?
Yeah, and that's why, exactly, and that's and then I just closed another $2 million today, right? So yeah, we're cashed up and have enough money to execute on our exploration plans for 2021.
Okay, so where did that $2 million come from? Was that just flow through, or?
That's the flow through money that I just I'm closing today. I was very careful of who I brought it from, because it's one thing that I'm very conscious of. All sorts of funds wanted to give me the money, and I said no, because I know what it does. But these people that I'm working with, highly recommended, and will work with me, right? To look, I have no problem when people want to sell their stock. What I have a problem with is people lying. Tell me you want to sell the stock. I will find the buyer. We will work it out together. Right. And I'm very, very transparent and very frank that way. Right. And I think people appreciate that. And that's why, by the way, right, when we did the financing at 35 cents, everyone told me, watch, your stock's going to be at 35 or lower within days. We went to 90. If you're honest with people, if you're transparent, if you're upfront with them, you work with them, you build a trust.
Yeah, that's something that was hard to get used to in this market.
That was the toughest thing that I found when I got into the capital markets. Right, I wasn't used to that. Right, I'm from the private side. Right, and it's crazy. This I don't understand that. Right, if so I try to really, really be careful who I work with. Right, I'm not desperate for money. Right, I want to be very careful who I bring on, because I believe in partnerships. And that's why I believe Blue Lagoon is doing well so far, and I believe it will continue to do well, in the future.
Tell me this: so why raise money now? I mean, you got $1, and when you're at 82 cents, that's a good deal, right? But you're going to start drilling.
You answered your question.
I know, right? But don't you think you'd be able to do more after you'd begun your drill results and you sort of see some hopefully higher grades coming through?
Well, two reasons. Number one, at $1, the dilution is minimal, right? So again, trying to make some strategic decisions. markets can turn very quickly. And one of the things I learned in my 10 years is that mistakes that CEOs make, something goes wrong, the company's broke, now you're desperate, now you're doing financing at a nickel, right? So it makes sense to me to take a little bit of money, inflow through from good people who I can work with, right, that are not going to come back and hurt the market, use that money in an exploration program that I'm already going to do and preserve my hard dollars just in case that if the market, takes a little bit of a dip for a while.
Take the money when it's offered. That's what we say.
That's right.
I agree with you. Well, look, Ron, I appreciate that run through. That's interesting. Like, I'd like to understand what's going on in people's heads, and entrepreneurial mindset is something we don't often see in this space, for sure. But I'm intrigued to see what happens for you guys in 2021. Looks like it'll be interesting times, certainly with that drill bit going as well. Appreciate it. Stay in touch.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I think I'm very confident 2021 is going to be a very exciting year for Blue Lagoon Resources.